The waters off Amity Island hide more than just a killer shark, a mechanical monster that refused to cooperate, a severed head funded by the director's own wallet, and an Academy Award snub that left Spielberg heartbroken on camera. The summer blockbuster was born in 1975, but the secrets behind its creation are more terrifying than any great white. These are the cinema secrets you missed in Jaws.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Number 1. The book that almost wasn't written. Jaws exists because Peter Benchley was broke and desperate. In 1971, the struggling freelance writer had a wife, children, and empty pockets. He pitched several book ideas to publisher Thomas Congdon, including one about a shark terrorizing a seaside town. Congdon liked it and paid him in advance. But Benchley wrote absolutely nothing, not one word. Only when his agent warned that he'd have to return the money he'd already spent did Benchley panic and throw together a manuscript. Congdon hated it, calling it too comical, but loved the opening pages. It took Benchley another year and a half, writing in makeshift offices and even a converted turkey coop, to complete the book. When it came time for publishing, they couldn't agree on a title. Congdon considered The Stillness in the Water, Leviathan Rising, and The Jaws of Death before settling on simply Jaws at the last minute because it was short, sweet, and would fit on the cover. Benchley thought no one would read it since it was his first book, and about a fish. He was wrong. It became a massive bestseller. Number 2. Spielberg thought it was a sequel. When 26-year-old Steven Spielberg first heard the title Jaws, he thought it might be about a dentist. Once he learned the actual story, he immediately saw connections to Duel, a 1971 TV movie he'd directed about a menacing truck hunting down a lone man. Both stories featured near unstoppable, monstrous beasts preying on an everyman, and both titles were single 4-letter words. Spielberg literally saw Jaws as Duel in the Water, and these similarities alone got him excited to direct. Universal producers Richard Zanuck and David Brown had originally wanted John Sturges, but grew tired of him constantly referring to the shark as a whale. They turned to young Spielberg, who was already directing the Sugarland Express for them. Number 3. The director who nearly quit. After being hired, Spielberg immediately got cold feet. He didn't want to be typecast as the monster director, the truck and shark guy. He started eyeing a different project called Lucky Lady for 20th Century Fox instead. Thankfully, producer David Brown convinced him to stay. Then came the script nightmare. Peter Benchley wrote 3 drafts that Spielberg wasn't sold on. Playwright Howard Sackler did uncredited rewrites that changed characterizations. Then Carl Gottlieb, who also has a small acting role in the film, essentially rewrote the entire script over 9 weeks. After that, even more writers added contributions: John Milius, Matthew Robbins, Hal Barwood, and Spielberg himself. When Robert Shaw was cast as Quint, he even rewrote some of his own dialogue. Normally, this many cooks in the kitchen creates disaster, but with Jaws, it somehow perfected the script. Number 4. The casting domino effect. Robert Duvall was the initial choice for Chief Brody, but he'd only do it if he could play Quint instead. Charlton Heston desperately wanted the Brody role, but Spielberg thought his mainstream Hollywood stardom was too grandiose for a modest police chief. Roy Scheider got involved after eavesdropping on Spielberg, talking about Jaws at a party. He lobbied for the part and got it, though Spielberg worried he'd be too much of a tough guy after The French Connection. 9 days before production started, the vital roles of Quint and Hooper still weren't cast. Sterling Hayden and Lee Marvin both turned down Quint. Robert Shaw also refused because he hated the Jaws book, but his wife and secretary convinced him to accept. For Hooper, many young actors were considered: Jon Voight, Jeff Bridges, before George Lucas recommended his friend Richard Dreyfuss. Dreyfuss turned it down. Then he saw an early screening of another film he'd just finished, thought his performance was so terrible that he'd never work again, and quickly accepted Jaws to guarantee future employment. Number 5. Robert Shaw's incest accusation. Martha's Vineyard became Amity Island, a picturesque seaside town with white sandy beaches that looked like the perfect tourist hotspot. The shoot was meant to last 55 days, but stretched to a grueling 159 days. leaving the cast and crew exhausted and miserable. Robert Shaw expressed his frustrations in a rare TV interview, calling the filming process physically unpleasant and dangerous. Then, he dropped a bombshell about staying in Martha's Vineyard longer than expected. There's a lot of skeletons in the cupboard here. There's more incest going on in Martha's Vineyard than probably in the United States. Yep, he publicly accused the island of rampant incest. Meanwhile, the Quentin Hooper characters didn't get along on screen, and Shaw and Dreyfuss didn't get along in real life either. Stories emerged of Shaw getting drunk and mocking Dreyfuss's weight while pressuring him to perform dangerous stunts. Spielberg admitted their real-life tension actually enhanced their on-screen performances. Number 6. Bruce the Broken Shark. The producers initially considered using a real great white shark and training it to perform. That's impossible, obviously, so 3 mechanical sharks were built and named Bruce after Spielberg's lawyer, Bruce Raymer. These props were amazing for their time, but had one catastrophic problem. They didn't work. Filming them in water was nearly impossible. They constantly malfunctioned. One prop shark literally sank to the bottom of the ocean and had to be retrieved. The sharks required 14 operators to control. The film crew sarcastically dubbed the movie Flaws. Richard Dreyfuss said, "We started the film without a script, without a cast, and without a shark. Jaws was the first major movie filmed on the ocean, which created additional nightmares. Bad weather, seasickness, cameras getting soaked, boats and sailboats constantly photobombing shots requiring reshoots. The Orca boat even started sinking with the cast still inside. The average working day was a grueling 12 hours. The budget ballooned from $4 million to $9 million. But the shark malfunctions became a blessing in disguise. Not seeing the monster made it more terrifying. The yellow, floating barrels signaling the shark's presence became iconic. John Williams' suspenseful score, voted 6th greatest film score by the American Film Institute, did the rest, building tension without showing the creature. Number 7. The real shark attack that saved Hooper. Some Jaws footage used real sharks filmed by documentary filmmakers Ron and Valerie Taylor at Dangerous Reef in South Australia. For the cage scene, they used a short person as Hooper's stunt double in a smaller cage to make the sharks look bigger. A real shark actually attacked the cage during filming, but luckily no one was inside. When Spielberg saw this incredible footage, he wanted to use it. Problem, you couldn't see anyone in the cage. In the original script and book, Hooper dies in the cage, so they rewrote it so Hooper escapes. Because of that real shark attack, one of cinema's most beloved characters survived instead of dying. Number 8. The impossible PG rating Jaws is terrifying. Blood, severed limbs, people getting eaten. The MPAA gave it an R rating, but the studio wanted PG for a wider release. Trims were made, including removing extended shots of the shark-eating Alex Kittner and the man with his leg bitten off getting dragged along. Rumor has it Spielberg argued kids weren't likely to copy the violence because they couldn't start swimming around eating people like sharks. Somehow, it worked. Jaws got a PG rating, which is honestly remarkable given its content. Number 9. The $3,000 severed head. After a screening, Spielberg felt one more scare was needed. Ben Gardner's head popping out of the boat. The studio refused to pay for additional filming, so Spielberg used $3,000 of his own money to film it. The head prop looks absolutely nightmarish today. The scene worked brilliantly. Audiences literally screamed and leaped from their seats. That's $3,000 well spent for one of cinema's greatest jump scares. Number 10. The heartbreaking Oscar snub Jaws opened in June 1975 and became a monster hit. The world went Jaws crazy, merchandise everywhere, even Jaws jewelry. Spielberg was confident he'd win a Best Director nomination at the 1976 Academy Awards. He filmed himself with friends watching the nominations to capture his crowning achievement. "You're about to see us sweep the nominations. We're very confident." Then his name wasn't called. "I didn't get it. I wasn't nominated." The footage shows his visible disappointment, and his friends looked devastated. This man made Jaws, are you kidding? It's heartbreaking to watch. Jaws did win 3 Oscars, Best Editing, Best Sound, and Best Score, plus tons of other awards. Spielberg would eventually win 3 Academy Awards later in his career, but that moment of raw disappointment captured on film shows even legends face rejection. Which behind-the-scenes secret shocked you most? And do you think the malfunctioning shark actually made Jaws better? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And remember, just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water, make sure you like, subscribe, and share. Thanks for watching.